So here we're creating a bunch of actions and a reducer. Now, in Redux Toolkit, we also have a function that combines these two steps. So it automatically creates actions and a reducer for us. Let me show you. We're going to import create slice. I love this function. So we call create slice and give it a configuration object. This object has a few properties. One of them is name. What is the name of this slice? Bugs. The other is initial state. What is our initial state here? An empty array. The next property is reducers. And this is an object that maps actions to action handlers. So what are the actions that we did here? Bug added. We map this to an action handler that takes two parameters, state and action. We could also call this bugs. That is better. Now let's move the logic for handling this action into our new function. So cut, and we paste it over here. So this was the first property of our reducers object. Let's add another property, another mapping. What is the other action we want to handle here? Bug result. Let's map it to a function with two parameters. And then we're going to move this logic on the top. So cut and paste it over here. Now you might be wondering why I didn't use the computed property syntax here. Because earlier, bugs added was an object, so we used the computed property syntax to get the type of this object. In this new approach, bugs added is not an object that we have defined earlier, so it's simply the name of this property. This function, this create slice function, is going to automatically create action types and action creators for us. Okay? So this is the only place where we're specifying the type of an action. If we want to rename this to bug created in the future, this is the only place we have to update. So internally, this function is going to call two functions, create action and create reducer. Okay? So let's revert the changes. Now, before going further, let's store the result in a constant called slice and log it on the console. Console.log slice. Let's see what we have in this slice object. So this slice is an object with four properties. Name, which is set to bugs. We have a reducer. This is a function with two parameters, just like a regular Redux reducer. We didn't have to code this by hand. Okay. We also have actions. So here we have two actions, bug added and bug resolved. We also have case reducers, which is kind of like actions. So what we need to do is to export this reducer function as a default object and these specific actions as named exports. So with this new implementation, we do not need any of these action creators or this reducer. Let's delete all this code. We need to keep the last ID variable because we have used it on the top. So I'm going to move it to the top. That's good. We have used it when creating a new bug object, right? So finally, let's delete all this code as well. Here we need to export as a default object, slice.reducer. We also need to export the actions. So you saw that slice.actions is an object with a few properties. We can use object destructuring to extract these properties. So bug added and bug resolved. Now we want to export these outside of this module. Now everything is working like before. So we have three bugs and the first bug is resolved. But look at the type of our actions. They're prefixed with bugs. This is a beautiful naming convention. So we are namespacing these actions. It is completely clear that these actions are part of the domain or the slice of bugs. So technically create slice is the only function we need. With this function, we're defining a slice. We give it a name, an initial state, and a bunch of reducers, which are in fact action handlers. With this function, we don't have to explicitly create actions on a reducer. So this is the only function that we ever need, and we can get rid of these two functions. If you don't like this approach, you can still create actions on reducers by hand. That's totally fine because Redux doesn't care. But I personally love this approach and I've been very happy with it.